Hello, and thank you for joining us this evening for our Foundations of Global Health. I am Alexa Smith, and I am the International Partnerships and Programs Coordinator with the Office of International Programs. So, what is the Foundations of Global Health series? Global health is a varied and exciting field to which many healthcare providers, researchers, and faculty aspire to being professionally engaged. With our being a globally connected world and with COVID-19 uniting the world to solve an issue, global health has never been more relevant. This year-long programming is designed to feature our experts in the field of global health, KUMC's faculty, researchers, and clinicians, and tonight our students, our international partners, and our community partners. Each presenter will share their personal journey, educational background, mentors, books and articles that gave inspiration, challenges, lessons learned, successes, epiphanies, life-changing moments, and heartbreaks. We have some objectives for the series. The learner will gain foundational information on pathways into global health and will be challenged to deepen knowledge on equality and mutualism, which garners true collaboration and global health exchange for everyone's equal benefit. The learner will examine existing attitudes around global health so that we at the University of Kansas Medical Center are trendsetters who move beyond the us versus them, have versus have not mentality. The learner will be able to appraise global health, including global health research, philosophy, approaches, attitudes, and the varied efforts in the areas of health disparities, health inequalities, and community health. We do have two more presentations in this series. The next is on May 4th, which is the Introduction to the School of Medicine at Universidad de Antioquia by Dr. Julian Franco. And on June 3rd, Post-COVID Global Health with Dr. Nicholas Comenelis, and we hope you all will join us.
Okay. So as Alexa said, tonight is a really special Foundations of Global Health. We wanted to include our exceptional students who've been engaging in global health in different ways and international learning. And so I'd like to start off by just asking all of you and whoever feels like answering, what sparked your interest in global health? Can you identify a moment in time, an event, something you read, something you saw?
I can go first. So I feel like my name is Alex Takis. I'm a fourth year medical student going into pediatrics residency in June. And so my family is originally from Greece. I was born in the States, but my family comes from, my mom was born in like very rural place in kind of the mountainous central area of Greece. And so having, being a first generation American, definitely, I guess, was the very start of my interest in global health. And then when I was, I guess, in college, I joined an organization called Midlife. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that, and went on a trip to Peru, like a 10-day long trip to Peru, and they had some clinics that they had set up for like the past decade, kind of providing care to some of the more rural areas outside of, I'm forgetting the exact city, and so we did some work there, and that was really my first exposure to global health, I would say. And I mean, as I'm sure many say, I fell in love with just meeting new people and being immersed in a culture and like appreciation for diversity and all of that wonderful stuff. And And then after I graduated college, I spent a month in Guatemala volunteering at a clinic outside of Antigua. Um, and that was kind of my second global health experience. And then in medical school, I kind of made a decision that I wanted to kind of pursue my medical education and like kind of get fully trained in and become a medical professional and focus more on kind of like more global health awareness and like education, and got involved in Partners in Health with Nate and then Emma. Um, and yeah, so just kind of wanted, and we can get into more like my
Yes.
idea of this a little bit later, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to focus more on the like local global health, and getting trained in my profession, um, and yeah, and then this year having a lot of time off, I got to really get more involved in the community, and work with the Wyandotte County Health Department with COVID-19, mostly contact tracing. I did a lot of work contact tracing, which really was very much a local global health endeavor with, especially at the beginning, a lot of populations that were like from a like I don't know, like underserved, at risk kind of group that were like essential workers, and so that was a cool experience to have more time to get really involved in the community, and even like I mean, medical because of COVID, but I wasn't doing like medical care.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really long-winded, but and then I also I'm interested in working as right now. I mean, of course, my mind could change. I'm very open-minded, but as like a general pediatrician um, in like a safety net clinic or a FQHC, with um, just I struggle with the right wording for this always, but with just populations, children that are more at risk for adverse health outcomes and
Mhm.
health equity and child advocacy. And I'm really excited to get some more training and exposure in some of these things. Um,
I'm
and
glad
just
you
all these other.
mentioned that the whole global health and is local too, right? So global
Mhm,
health is about
absolutely.
health inequities, health disparities, and those can be local or international. And so I think the great thing about COVID is it has given us that opportunity to look more closely, look at our own, environment, our neighborhoods, our
Mhm.
communities. Um, I'd really like to hear from everybody on this question. So who would like to hop on after Alex? Nate, how about you? I'll start calling on you. I have no shame.
Well, I'm a little different, I think, given that I started, I'm older, and I've been working in global health way before I came into medical school. Um, I think what really, I think the question was, what got you interested in global health? I can remember my first trip to Haiti. I think it was in 2012. It was just about 2 years after the major earthquake there. And I was just going down to help with construction because that's what I knew. I was in the construction business. And, you know, and I was trying to help out. So I was doing construction, and we were in this village working. And one of the people there told me about this lady that had, I don't know, 8 or 10 children. And one of them was really sick. And she had to make the decision whether she fed her family or she took her kids to her little girl to um, get spend that money to go get health care for her
Okay.
girl. um, and I how much you know about Haiti, but in Haiti, you don't get healthcare without money. I mean, it's not like there is no safety net whatsoever. So those are real choices that people have to make on a daily basis. There is whether they feed their whole family or they take that meager amount of money and try to help out a sick kid. And so that really got me interested in doing something about that. I think that's what first piqued my interest. And that's eventually what brought me to medical school, actually, because it was really difficult, quite honestly, to get people interested in helping out. And so, I struggled with that for several years, trying to get physicians to donate time, and because, I didn't know anything about medicine. So I decided to become one. So, because it was easier that way. So
It's
that's
interesting that construction really is what brought you to global health. And I think also you comment on choices people have to make for healthcare. And I think we see this even in our, our own city, our own community, right? People choosing between medicine and feeding their families. So there's a lot of correlations. And I know you've also found a lot of correlations between the rural environments as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Sophia.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have yet to experience, so I have had some international health experience before applying to medical school. I was in Peru for a summer, where I was shadowing in both private clinics as well as public clinics. I have yet to be on a trip since being in medical school. I'm only a first year med student, but that experience for me was very impactful because their public health system was very different. Obviously, the US doesn't have a public health system. However, where I was specifically at, when I was talking with the physicians, a lot of them were saying how there's a lot of corruption associated with their government at that point in time. So they were just saying how although people, pay taxes and it's supposed to go to them, a lot of that money is taken away. So I just saw really impactful things. It was very traumatizing in a sense to see how many people were there, and just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were just waiting to see a physician. And a lot of them were, deteriorating day by day and still just waiting in line. So for me, that was very inspiring. And I was like, it was very inspiring because I was like, I would love to come back here one day and just help out any way that I could. And yeah, that is something that brought me to medical school, and I can't wait to hopefully have once COVID's over, to be able to do another trip through KU, or potentially get a master's in global health.
Great.
Okay, hearing silence, I'll speak. I'm Emma. I'm a third-year medical student. My interest in global health, I don't think that I have any one particular instance, but I guess global involvement was always a part of my home. Like ever since I was, can remember, we always had missionary friends that we would talk to and like pray for and all that stuff. That's important to my family. And so just kind of being involved internationally, I guess, even without ever, without having gone anywhere until I was 16. So my first personal international experience was when I was 16 in Honduras. And at that time, the very short version of the story is like
Is that me or Emma?
Like literally saved my life, which obviously I'm like super grateful, and it's kind of opened my eyes to appreciate rural medicine.
Emma, you might want to try turning off your camera because the let's go to Jack and I will message Emma.
Hey, thanks. So I didn't really have any international health experiences first, but I had stories from my mom, who's a pharmacist, and it was kind of laid down as an expectation that before I settle down, start a family, and do things that kind of keep me a little more roped in that I go do that stuff. She went on multiple trips to Africa for longer periods of time as part of like a teaching effort, and has also done trips all around the Caribbean and South America. And that was just kind of just an expectation laid down that, hey, like you have this skill, you're I mean, lucky enough to train at a place where like KU Med provides a good education and the opportunities to do that, and that you should take advantage of those when you can and get involved with global health. So my mom kind of set the expectation that that's something you would do, and I jumped onto it as soon as I could. And I'm a third year med student, forgot to add that in.
Thank you, Jack.
I think maybe I'm the last one that hasn't spoken yet, so I can go ahead. My name's Kayla. I'm a first-year medical student. I actually became interested in global health after learning about neglected tropical diseases in one of my undergraduate courses. Actually, I think, Jack, we had that class together, so that's kind of funny. But I was just really impacted by the disparities, you know, in who is impacted by these diseases, and the lack of effective public health interventions, which would be very effective if, you know, actually able to be implemented. So following that, I actually got my Master's of Science in Public Health and Tropical Medicine, where I specifically studied all of those neglected tropical diseases, things like that. And now I'm here at KU Med, and I plan to go into infectious disease and hopefully do some work related to research in that area.
Fantastic. Taylor, I think you're next.
So I'm a fifth year PhD candidate in cancer biology, hoping to graduate this summer. And kind of like other people have said, like my family had a big impact on emphasizing international travel and giving back to the community and service and things like that. So from fifth grade, I did different international and local trips, doing a lot of different service projects and things. And then when I got into graduate school, I realized that doing bench science wasn't for me necessarily long term, that I cared more about how what we learn in the lab can be translated into people and patients. And so, and also like if patients aren't getting to, if there's not health equity, they're never going to see the advancements that the science gets. So, so then I just kind of learned that KU had a lot of opportunities to pursue global health and have been slowly transitioning into that kind of career path for after my PhD.
I'd like to add real quick that Taylor submitted a Fulbright application for research in Kenya with our partners in Kenya with Dr. Sarah Kessler. And she's actually an alternate, which means there's not enough funding. But if the funding comes through, Taylor will be spending a year doing this research. So congratulations. We just found out yesterday that she was selected as an alternate. Very proud. Alexa's going to go to the next question.
Yes. So who is someone that you admire in the field of global health, and why do you admire that person?
I'll go on this one. I think the coolest guy ever is Dr. Paul Farmer. I don't know how many of you know about him, but he is one of the founders of Partners in Health. But what's so neat about him is that he decided as a medical student, he made a trip to Haiti, and he decided as a medical student and saw a bunch of AIDS patients in Haiti, and he decided to do something about it. And so throughout medical school, he treated patients in Haiti. He would take time off from medical school at Harvard and just disappear and treat patients in Haiti for periods of time. And then Sweetie, I'm on the phone. Shut the door. Sorry. So he's one of my heroes. He wrote a book that if you haven't read, you got to read it. It's called Mountains Beyond Mountains, or he didn't write the book, but it's about him. Really amazing guy. Funny story, not a funny story, but a cool story. One of my trips to Haiti, I think it was my third year of medical school, I was sitting at the Port-au-Prince airport, and he walked in and sat down, or no, we were in line to go through security. I was like people ahead of him, and I turned around, I was just waiting for people to get searched. I turned around and I was like, that's got to be Paul Farmer. And so I got through security. I stood there and waited, and then stalked him. And I went up to him and told him he was one of my heroes, and he was super cool guy, very down to earth. Even got a selfie with him. So beat that.
And I got a copy of that selfie. And if it weren't for COVID, Nate would have been doing his 4th year rotation at that clinic. So this darn COVID. But Nate, will you continue to have contact then with that, with the clinic and with Dr. Farmer?
That's a place called Mibale. That his clinic grew into a university hospital that Partners in Health runs now in Mibale. It's one of the only free hospitals in all of Haiti. I regularly I've been to Haiti multiple times in the last year by myself, not associated with KU, and working with a mobile clinic there that we started. So they send patients there often to get care. So in that manner, I am, yes.
I just had a quick question. Being a first year, I don't know, what is Partners in Health? Could someone just tell me a little bit about that?
Partners in Health is a major international organization that was started by Paul Farmer and a couple other individuals, friends of his, that does, initially they started just a small clinic in Haiti, and they were treating AIDS patients. And that organization pretty much single-handedly changed how poor AIDS patients were treated around the world. They advocated through the World Health Organization to provide, at that time, it was basically comfort care they were doing and not really providing, unless you had money, you didn't get the actual, retroviral care and that sort of thing. And so his organization really was instrumental in getting that started for, poor people all across Africa and Haiti. They subsequently went into drug-resistant TB and have revolutionized how that's been treated everywhere from in Peru to prisons in Russia. Now they're doing just basic primary care in Africa. I mean, it's a big organization. The school has we have like an affiliate. They have these student groups around different universities. So there's a Partners in Health group that Alex and I were involved in that helps support that organization within KU.
Emma or Alex, do you want to add more about the Partners in Health at KU?
Yeah, I feel like our organization at KU isn't like so much tied to like the National Partners in Health organization, but at KU it's just more of a group to hold different like lectures and discussions about global health topics and just to spread more awareness, education.
Thank you so much. That sounds super interesting. Do you guys like have an email chain or something? I would love to attend the meetings and the lectures that you guys.
Emma, do you know more? She was more recently in it, unless someone else was also more recently in it, because at KU we like hand off leadership for a lot of those groups like after first year. So it's been a couple years since Nate and I have.
Emma, do you know who's running that now?
At the risk of my internet cutting out, I put a message in here. But I don't know who it is now, but I can get you in contact with them.
Thank you so much. I'll shoot you an email. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
And I know that we were
The
involved.
outgoing person.
Say that again, Alexa.
That I think I have the outgoing leadership. I don't think I have the incoming leadership
Okay.
information.
So we can connect you, Sophia. We've worked with the student group to show the documentary and have a discussion around partners in health. In fact, Emma brought in one of their key individuals in the organization when she was working with Partners in Health. We had that person come to KU Med and talk after we watched the documentary. So it's good stuff. So Paul Farmer's a big one. Does anybody have anyone else that has influenced them or that they admire, someone who works in the field, or articles that they've read?
Yeah, I can go. So for me, it's the person that helped send me on my second trip to an event. That's Dr. Archie Headings in orthopedics. So I want to do orthopedics. So that's one reason why he motivates me. But also his goal with his international work has not been like, I'm going to go like be the savior for these people. It has been like, how can we connect with people and within the systems that we have and learn from each other and improve each of our own. So we've set up now 2 IRB approved studies that are comparing the Romanian hospital that I went to with the US hospital and our outcomes on different orthopedic measures. And so for me, like, that's an inspiration that it's not, yeah, there are needs that need to be met across in global health, but there's also the aspect of global health of how do we improve from where we are within our systems too. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned Dr. Archie Headings, because he is representative of some of the individuals at KUMC who are heavily involved in global health. And the one thing they all have in common is, well, there's a few things. Humility. So Dr. Kovac, Dr. Headings, Dr. Kessler, these individuals are incredibly humble. They're also incredibly interested and inquisitive. For them, they want to learn and understand more about our partners. So they've got that just natural love of people and interest. And then the interest in research and medicine follows with that. So those are really, we're fortunate to have those individuals at KU Med who are a great example for all of us, and not just how to be in global health. I think I would say how to be as human beings. I could use a little bit bigger dose of that humility that they show every day.
And I would add to the relationship building that those faculty do as well. You know, Dr. Heading's relationship with the Melanchias in Romania is, you know, it's just to see the exchange between them, and also between Jack and the other students who have gone on that summer program, to see that relationship continue on through the research discussions that they've had. It's just such an amazing thing to know that it's blossomed.
Yeah, and to your point, I'm so glad you brought that up, Alexa, because Dr. Kovac gave a talk last week, and we had like almost 50 people on the Zoom. Half of them were our partners from Ghana and Peru. And that's because the residents that he goes and shares his education with and also brings to KU Med, they love him. They love his humble, generous heart. In fact, Dr. Adu is on today. He's one of our partners that has been cultivated, our friendship and partnership, because of Dr. Kovac. So, anybody else?
I love Dr. Mani. He's an inspiration to me. Just his message, kind of going off of what Jack was saying, you know, like global health is a partnership, you know, like if you don't like think about it in that way, then I don't know if it can really be done at least correctly or ethically, whatever. Yeah, and just really about like building relationships and working together as a team, and learning yeah, his everything that he has done is, I mean, incredibly inspirational. He's like basically revolutionized burn protocol across the world, but just his like heart and his spirit and his outlook is is important. And I think everyone should be more like him.
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned Dr. Mani. He's also someone like the others that we've mentioned that is very generous with his time and mentorship. He's very willing to talk about global health and international education exchange and relationships at any time, because it's, like you said, it's part of his heart, it's his passion. And all these people also, and I think you would probably, I don't know Dr. Paul Farmer personally, but I bet we would find these same characteristics with him, and that there's so much respect for other people's abilities and talents. By recognizing what everyone else has to offer, these individuals feel that they're just, one piece of the puzzle, one member of a team, right? But that there's this team effort. So as you think about that and these individuals that you admire, what would you say you hope to be or to bring to the field of global health as I know a lot of you are going to be continuing your education and going into your careers?
I think for me, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet. I moved, so, okay. I think one thing that I have seen in clinical medicine and other parts of the world is similar to rural medicine, like anywhere, and that's like building trust in your community. And for me, I hope that looks like, living full-time, practicing full-time in a underserved international community. And just practicing good medicine. But I think it's something that I've learned from other doctors is actually like taking the time up front and making the effort to like ask the community members and community leaders, like, what are the most important things to them? And what are the goals that they would like to see met, whether it's, specifically related to their health, medical problems, or maybe it's like, the biggest thing for us is like our education system, and like just whatever voice I have as just, a doctor, because that, like, I understand that carries a lot of weight, and that's a huge privilege, but also responsibility that we will have. So I think those are some things I hope to do, is just to, serve, but not on my own terms, but just to kind of like put myself aside and try to meet the needs of the community. So I hope that I can actually fulfill that.
And I love what you say as far as moving and living with a community that you would want to work in. And that's something Dr. Mani talks about, is living with people so that there's an understanding of that particular population, that particular culture. It gives an opportunity to learn and to really become part of a team rather than just a visitor who comes in and out. And I know that that's something Dr. Mani has done. It's something he really speaks a lot about. And we know Dr. Paul Farmer did that. Dr. Nicholas Comnenellis with InMed, some of you have heard him speak. He is also someone who lived abroad and spends long amounts of time within communities. So that's a really great point. Anyone else? Someone else? Kayla?
Actually, I also wanted to mention the person who I admire in the global health field as well. So I'll kind of do both. So I think in addition to Paul Farmer, of course, like Nate mentioned, the person that I admire most is my research mentor from Tulane, who actually responded to the 2014-2016 Ebola outbreak with the WHO and has since established partnerships in the country he responded in, does continual relationship building and capacity building, which is really focused on the community needs. So in my future career, what I really hope to do is kind of a similar thing where, like Emma mentioned, I'm building relationships with the community I'm working in, making sure that it's focused on their needs and really including that capacity building in whatever I'm doing.
Fantastic. Kayla, do you have a community that you hope to do that in?
Not yet, but by the time I'm an M4, you know, going into residency, hopefully I will. So
That's fine. Nate, you were going to go next, I believe.
Oh, I was just going to kind of echo some of the things that I've heard here. I think the thing that is most important in what I see myself doing in the future is not necessarily practicing medicine overseas, but I view myself as more of as a facilitator to make sure that, or to help in-country physicians, specifically in Haiti. It's really, it's one thing to go there and treat patients, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in long term, it really, when I'm dead and gone, it didn't really change anything. What changes things is having, facilitating physicians to stay in practice in Haiti, improving physician education, that sort of thing. So that's where I see myself. I've spent a lot of time working on this primary care unit that works in a really rural part of Haiti. And it's been really interesting because even when I go there, I don't help treat patients. My job is making sure I got the money for them, making sure that and these are all Haitians treating Haitians. It's not, Nate going there and treating patients. It's me helping, keeping them in the field and keeping them in medication and keeping them in a vehicle that works, and helping them with things that they need, and helping them with their education and things like that. So that's where I kind of see myself. I'm going to be a general surgeon, and one step past primary care in Haiti is, there is no access to general surgery or surgery period in Haiti without money, and major money up front. So I see myself, during residency, after residency, working on a way to help train physicians to be surgeons in Haiti and actually be able to, so that the poor of Haiti actually have access. I mean, just minor things like, I've seen some crazy things that, would never get to where in the States here, like just fleshy tumors that, would get removed here, but now are so large that the lady can't walk, and, just stuff like that, it's not, a lot of the stuff is not major stuff, but over time, like a squamous cell carcinoma on a guy's chin that, was just a skin cancer originally, and now it's taken over his jaw, and, it's just ulcerated and terrible, and now there's really nothing to be done about it. Things like that. So I think it's important that, in trying to facilitate global health, it's not really about you treating patients, in my opinion. It's about you working with a community of physicians that have capability. I mean, they're smart people, they're physicians, they know what we know. And I mean, in a lot of cases, they don't have as good of training, and that's something that we can provide, and we can provide financing, we can provide, things that keep them in practice. In Haiti specifically, a physician, a surgeon in Haiti may make $350 a month. Can you imagine living on $350 a month in a country that imports almost everything?
Yeah.
And so most physicians in that country, when they do work as a physician, they've got multiple other businesses going on to try to make ends meet. And many of them leave medicine just because it pays so poorly. So that's how I see my future there. So
Nate, I'm really glad you mentioned that. And that's really reflective of the KU attitude. It's about training. And that's why Dr. Kovac and Dr. Headings are in that business of training residents and training physicians. And we have Dr. Corin Tazier, and he's a plastic surgeon. And his goal is to train plastic surgeons in Guatemala. That's the long-term goal. And then in the interim, there is some patient care that they participate in too. It's as part of that training. But there just aren't plastic surgeons in Guatemala right now. So he sees that as his long-term goal for Guatemala, is that infrastructure building, right? Building up the capacity. Anybody else have anything to add to that? That was really well said by Nate.
So one thing that I'll add that no one really mentioned on is one of my things I'm looking forward to a lot is establishing funds for students to travel and do these projects to start early. Because I know for me, that was really a huge part of my being able to do this global health has been people providing funding for that or providing research scholarships or things like that. So I know the old adage is like you're either too young and have the energy but no money, or you start to get older and have all of the money but no time or energy to do things. So that's been one of the things I really look forward to doing, is being able to promote it amongst my peers and younger peers.
Jack, we look forward to that too. But you mentioned something, you and Nate both mentioned something, and I think this is really important. Dr. Headings and Dr. Kovac and the Dr. Manis, these are people who have put their money towards the educational component, whether it's students being able to go out for training or bringing individuals to KU Med for training. And, Dr. Headings is training residents in Ethiopia, right? He's setting up a research fellowship where they'll spend some time at KU Med, and then he'll go to Ethiopia for the hands-on surgical training, orthopedic surgical training. So it's great to hear that that's what's in your heart, is that you can use your skill as doctors and professionals in healthcare to create funding that will continue and that will continue the educational process. And Dr. Kovac's a big part of that too, in terms of making sure that that education continues on and is part of his legacy. So we're grateful for that type of example that we have at KU Med, and that those of you, you're following in that example as well.
Go a little bit, speak a little bit to what I look forward to in my future career. I think it's a little bit about what Emma spoke about, as well as Nate. So in my future, I would like to really promote international partnerships between different institutions, because I think it's important. I think, other people can learn about what we're doing here, but also I feel like students within the US can learn a lot from international experiences and from different cultures and that kind of thing. I think a lot of times, if I look around my class here at KU, it can be a fairly homogenous group, like socioeconomic status wise. Just a lot of times we haven't stepped outside of our own realities to really see other ways of life. And so I think one thing, like from my international travels, I've taken every trip that I go on and I see a different culture and a way of life. I walk away with a better understanding of the human experience and how it's so different. And so I think it's really important, like from an education standpoint, you can learn about, different techniques or what have you. But I also think you can come away with, more of a drive to help others. So I think that is something that I would like to promote in my future careers, just these partnerships, because I think we can learn a lot from each other. In addition to what Emma had said, I can also see myself living and working in another country, and maybe that'll be later in my career, but I'm really passionate about health literacy, so I think that's something I would like to really pursue, is just ensuring that my patients in their future are very understanding of their health, so that they can be partners with me in improving their health, and not just me being, a paternalistic physician telling them exactly what to do, but to be able to work with me and have questions, and we can do it together.
I would go off of that too, kind of working with Dr. Kessler, and her project is focused on getting more cancer patients screened in Kenya through technology, through like apps and tracking and stuff. So I think that kind of what you said, Sophia, was just like having that cross-institution collaboration to see what works in Kenya, what problems do they have, and is that similar to what we face here? And then kind of, how can we use that knowledge to improve both communities and their care. So.
I actually have a question for Kayla, since you participated in our virtual international experience. I didn't know if you could maybe talk about what your thoughts on that were in relation to global health. Because we've talked a lot about, physically going somewhere else, but I'm just wondering, what that experience was like for you.
So it was actually really good. It was a lot more informative and fun than I expected any virtual SIR to be. So it's through Child and Family Health International, which I'm sure you guys probably saw. KUMC OIP worked with them to make a virtual SIR for the M1s. And it was really good. We did a good overview of like global burden of disease. And then we also had some mentors from the community come and talk to us about industry in Costa Rica, what kind of problems look like as far as related to the industry. And then we're able to evaluate our own personal goals and areas in need of development for working in a future global health area. So overall, I think it was very useful. I learned about Costa Rica, but I also learned about myself and my own deficits and where I really need to work on to become a better person in the global health field. So I'm not sure if OIP is doing that again, but I really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, Kayla, we're actually going to make the virtual an ongoing opportunity, and Child Family Health International is committed to making that available. When you someone was speaking about this as far as making experiences available to everybody, from a kind of a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective. We know that international exchange and global health experiences enhance your education and really transform how you see the world. And those shouldn't be limited to just individuals who have the time or the resources to get on a plane and go. So we think this is one way to make sure that it's available to all. And to your point, Kayla, it can be a really fun and informative, even though it's virtual.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen that early enough to fit it into my M4 schedule, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you want to do it at a later date, Alex. We can make it happen for you when you're a resident. We had a resident actually do it this year too.
A KU resident.
We did, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll be up in Seattle, but I will.
Well, we can still make it happen for you. So we're getting a little close to the end of our time together, and all of you are individuals with whom I just enjoy chatting, and you have so much to bring to your friends, to your community, and to the world. You are remarkable human beings with remarkable souls and minds. And I just wonder, in the last few minutes, what would you like, if you had something to say, one bit of advice to give either to the younger you or to someone who's at a different point in life than you, what would you like to say to them as they either express interest in global health or think that this is an area that they want to pursue?
I feel like I would tell younger myself, or just, I don't know, someone, yeah, sure, younger myself, just to like spend more time outside, meet new people, meditate, just do what makes you happy. And to also to enjoy like my journey as I go through it, especially as a medical student. And like, before that, even pre-med, so much of my mentality was just like, got to do this to get to the next step. Like, got to do this to get into med school. Okay, now in med school, got to do this to like get to like phase 2 and into the clinical rotations. It'll be better then. And then in clinical rotations, like it will, it sucks right now because I'm not doing exactly what I want to be doing in my specialty every day, but it'll get better in residency. And just enjoy the journey, enjoy try to find something that I enjoy in every day. Yeah, that's not like super global health related, but just life advice.
Very good advice, Alex.
I think
Yeah,
from, go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, okay. I would just say that like in my PhD process, in all the different lectures and everything I attended, like something would spark my interest. And then I would go talk to someone or follow up on that information. And so over time, that led to literally, I've been to Kenya as a child and worked in like similar region or areas of study and stuff for cancer and all these things. And I found someone at KU who does that as their job on a daily basis. So just that there are those people out there. It may take a bunch of like connections to get to that person, but if it's there, if you look for it.
Yeah, that was kind of cool how you started so young, your interest in Kenya, and then to be able to come to KU and then meet Dr. Kessler. It's very interesting to see that watch that evolve from the outside, Taylor.
I was going to say that I think a lot of times, especially for medical students, don't let people discourage you. I think there's a lot of, I was told as a medical student, well, you're just a medical student. You can't treat patients. And obviously I can't treat patients, but there's a lot of things I can do. And I can facilitate patients being treated. I can raise money for patients to be treated. I can do research on how to best treat those patients. There's a lot of things I can do, and don't take no for an answer. Don't just. The problem is, I think, as physicians go through training, is that our passion is dulled as we get further along, and don't let that happen. I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with being too busy. And I think if you wait to get involved in global health and let people discourage you, then ultimately you don't do it, because you get into life, you have kids, you have responsibilities. If you get hooked when you're in medical school, you'll continue to do it. So I mean, I would encourage you to don't follow your passion and don't let people tell you no. I mean, there are ways to do a lot of different things, even though you're obviously not qualified at that point to treat patients, but you can facilitate patients being treated in a lot of different manners. So.
And Nate, to your point, you can create those relationships that really bind you to that community, and that is what will carry your passion when you get overwhelmed, right? So you may not be actively involved in patient care, but you can learn and you can collaborate and you can connect. And I really think that those are the connections are what kind of keeps the energy and the juices flowing.
Yeah, I'd kind of, build off what Nate said, really. I like to tell everyone about med school in general, steer into the skid, but really with anything, but especially with like wanting to do global health, is there are going to be things that come up. There are going to be challenges and setbacks, and there's always another board exam to take or a stressor coming up, a research deadline. But like my best experiences were within a month or two of my board exams or within a research deadline. And if you just steer into the skid and work and do it, things will work out. And don't let things, people, deadlines discourage that wanting to do things. You are never any younger with more energy.
Trust us. Anyone else? Closing thoughts?
I don't know how advicey this is or anything, but I guess just take the I'm just glad that I took opportunities that were presented, and whether or not it was what I had in mind, if it was an opportunity to get involved with even just people who are different from me, not necessarily internationally, but like maybe it's, one of the Native American nations, or just going, even JDoc is a good opportunity just to, maybe that's not someone, that patient population is not a group of people who looks like you or comes from the same background as you. Or maybe it's like an international experience that you weren't expecting or something. But anyways, I'm just really glad that I took those opportunities, because they have led to some of these, years and years long relationships that, like Kimberly was mentioning, staying in communication with these guys. It's like what I need on a lot of days. They tell me about their patients out in the bush in Uganda, and we chat about them, and they tell me about their community involvement, and it's great. I feel like I'm, still involved, even if I'm not even actually able to do anything. It's just being a part of what they've got going on. And yeah, I think if you can find some group or some thing to be a part of, and like just keep doing it through med school, that has been really, really helpful for me.
Thank you, Emma. I think you speak to that human connection. And at the end of the day, no matter what we're doing, whether we're actually involved internationally or you're an office that's facilitating international relations, I think at the end of the day, what we all enjoy is connecting and connecting with each other. We love hearing your stories. We love talking to you. And so I'd just like to say how much we appreciate each one of you, your willingness to give of your time, to give of your talent and your thoughts tonight, and to spend some time connecting with us. So thank you so much. And I hope you'll stay connected with us. I know some of you will be leaving and going on your ways, but we're still here, and we hope to hear from you. So thanks so much.
Thank
It was
you.
good to meet
Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Thank you.
Kimberly, can you wait after? I have a question for you.
Yes. Stacy, can you stop the recording?